and Secretary of Education Rod Page. Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Good morning and welcome to Westview Elementary School. We are privileged to have distinguished guests in our building today, and we are happy that each of you could attend this very special occasion. One of the nicest things about achieving a goal is that one is often rewarded in ways that you could never have imagined. Today, we are rewarded for doing a good job and achieving in education, and we are rewarded with a visit from the leader of our country. It is a pleasure for me to present to you, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Thanks for coming. Malvina, thanks. We are here because Westview Elementary School is an example of what can happen when you have leadership that is willing to set high standards and to hold people to account and to realize every child can learn. One of the things that I've learned as a governor, now as the president, that successful schools not only require a teaching corps that cares a lot and parents involved in the school, but requires a principal who is willing to challenge mediocrity. And so, Malvina, you're right. We're here because you've been successful. And the results show it. This school had been measured during the measurement process, the early measurement process, had been a school that wasn't performing the way you wanted it, or any citizen of Knoxville, Tennessee would want it. In other words, it were below standards. And now it's exemplary in math, above standards in reading. You're accomplishing that which we all want, and that is not one single child be left behind in the state of Tennessee and the city of Knoxville. You're doing a great job. Thank you for your hospitality. I mentioned the No Child Left Behind Act. We're here to discuss that piece of bipartisan legislation. It is legislation which I would call historic, because for the first time the federal government is spending more money and now asking for results. See, in the past it used to be we would send a check and hope something happened. And now the federal government is sending checks at record amounts, I might add, for Title I students and teacher training and reading programs. But we're now saying, listen, we trust you. We trust the Malvinas of the world and the teachers to accomplish a mission. Why don't you just show us that you are? And so we've worked with states and local governments to develop an accountability system all around the country. Accountability systems which says that, first of all, we believe in the worth and the intelligence of every child. An accountability system that says, let us know whether or not every child is learning. Accountability system that tests curriculum to determine whether they're working. Accountability systems that enable us to address problems early before they're too late. The No Child Left Behind Act is a great piece of legislation which is making a difference around our country. We've got some people here from around America that are going to discuss what they're doing to accomplish the national objective. In a positive way, the national objective is to challenge the soft bigotry of low expectations and to raise the standards for every single child. You don't know unless you measure, because I've heard every excuse in the book about measurement. You're testing too much, you're teaching the test, don't test. If you don't test, you have a system that just shuffles the kids through. And that's unacceptable. It's unacceptable to quit on a kid early and just say, move through and hope you learn. What you got to do is measure to determine where they are. And then you can compare districts and compare states. And as a result of strong accountability measures and good teachers and more funding, the results are positive. The fourth grade math test scores around the nation are up 9 points since 2000. In other words, we're beginning to achieve national objectives, which is a more literate group of students. The eighth grade math scores are up 5 points. Fourth graders are now testing above, our reading tests are increasing for fourth graders. We're making a difference. And I say we, it's not the federal government that's making the difference. The federal government is a funding mechanism for Title I students, for some teacher training programs. The truth of the matter is the responsibility for educational excellence resides at the local level. Teachers must be free to teach. Principals must be free to lead. Superintendents of schools must be comfortable with making changes where change is needed. The best education policy is local control of schools. And that's exactly what's another part of the No Child Left Behind Act that's important for you all to understand. And we got some people here in the audience I want to introduce before we get to our panel that know something about education. They're on the front lines of education reform. But before I do so, speaking about a guy who's on the front line of education reform, the United States Senator from the great state of Tennessee, Lamar Alexander, is with us. He was a former governor. He was willing to challenge the soft bigotry of low expectations before it was cool to challenge the soft bigotry of low expectations. He did an excellent job as the Secretary of Education under old number 41, and is now a fine United States Senator. Senator, I'm honored you're with us today. Thank you for coming. Jimmy Duncan, and Zach Wamp, and Bill Jenkins, and Marsha Blackburn are all members of the United States Congress. Of course, this is Jimmy's district, as he's quick to point out at the airport. And he invited the 3 other Congress people with us today. But these are fine members of the Congress. These are people that believe in the value and worth of every single child. They understand that public education is the top domestic priority of this administration. I thank them for being here, and I appreciate your good work on this issue. Thanks for coming. Charles Lindsay's with us. He's the superintendent of the Knox County Schools. Charles, I'm honored you're here. Appreciate you coming. Bill Haslam's the mayor, newly elected mayor. Where are you, Bill? Thanks for coming. Glad you're here. My only advice is to fill the potholes and collect the garbage. Mike Ragsdale, who's the mayor of Knox County, is with us. Michael, thank you for coming, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate you being here. I met a fellow at the airport named Nat Foster. You probably hadn't heard of Nat. Where are you, Nat? Oh, there you are. Thanks for coming. Nat is, I told him at the airport, I said, you're a drill sergeant in the Army of Compassion. You see, Nat is one of millions of our fellow citizens who has heard the call to love a neighbor just like you'd like to be loved yourself, and is a mentor. He understands what I know, that the strength of the country is the heart and soul of our fellow citizens. The fact that people are willing to take time out of their busy life and to tutor a child, to serve as a role model for a child, teach a child how to read, is a defining part of the American civic scene. And I appreciate Nat Foster being here. I appreciate his willingness to serve as an example for others. January happens to be National Mentoring Month. I hope others in the Knoxville area and all around Tennessee and the country, for that matter, follow the lead of a soldier in the Army of Compassion like Nat and serve your country and your state, your community, by finding a child who needs adult guidance and mentoring to serve as an example. We can change America one heart and one soul and one conscience at a time. I'm joined today by the Secretary of Education. He was the superintendent of schools in Houston, Texas. When I was the governor, I saw firsthand his deep desire to defeat mediocrity, to insist upon excellence for every single child, regardless of their background. He had a deep understanding that every child can learn, and the system must understand that. I'm comfortable in asking the Congress for more money in the 05 budget, which I will do. We've increased the Title I disadvantaged students spending by 52% since fiscal year 01. The teachers and principal program is up by 39%. The reading programs are up by over 400%. The reason I'm comfortable is because I know that at the helm of the Department of Education, we have a man who knows that putting money into a bad system is not money well spent. Putting money into a system that believes in the worth of every child and is focused on results is money well spent. And that man is Rod Page. Rod, thank you for joining us. I'd be glad to have you. You got something to say?
Well, Mr. President, I do have.
Because you better.
You know, we're fortunate to live in a great country. And in our great country, we have some great schools, but not enough great schools. We've been very successful in educating some kids who get a world-class education and are going to be ready for the world and competitive society that they're going to live in, but not enough. Mr. President, you asked us in this country to create an education system that's worthy of a great nation, one that educates all of our children. And I'm just so pleased to say that across the country now the discussion has shifted. And now we're talking about educating all of our kids. And people are moving forward to creating the reality of the vision that you had and the work of the Congress of the United States of America. There are some who feel that that is a challenge that we shouldn't accept, or that it's a difficult task that we can't accomplish. But I don't agree, and most Americans don't agree. We're the United States of America, and we can educate all of our children. And thank you for your leadership, Mr. President. We're going to get this done.
Yeah, see, what he's saying is, if you believe certain kids can't learn, guess what? They're not going to. If you believe certain children, based upon the color of their skin, can't learn, they won't. And the system will reflect that. Basically, you know, in some school districts, I hate to say, the tendency is to say, let's just move them through. They can't learn, therefore, why measure? Why determine? Why don't we just get them out of the way? That's unacceptable to America. It's unacceptable to our Secretary of Education. I appreciate the attitude of kind of busting the status quo when the status quo is not meeting the great dreams of our country. Public education, we got to get it right. It's the gateway to hope. It is essential for this country to have a public education system that responds to the needs of every child so that we can meet great objectives for this country. It's trite, it's been said a lot, but it's true. The future of the country depends on our capacity to educate every child. The person who understands that is Dr. Jim Pusley from the Charlotte Mecklenburg Public School System. He's a superintendent of schools, so he and Ron have been superintendents before. The reason why he has been invited is because he brings an extraordinary record as a superintendent of schools. 7 years ago, African American fifth graders reading at grade level in the state of North Carolina were at 35% in his district. Today they're at 78%. All fifth graders 7 years ago were at 59%, and now they're at 86%. So not only has there been improvement for all students, the minority knowledge gap has closed dramatically. I'll let Jim tell you why, but as a result of these great results and his leadership, and the leadership, obviously, I'm sure he'll tell you, principals and teachers who get it, who understand that every child matters. He was named the 2003 Superintendent of the Year by the National Alliance of Black School Educators. Welcome. I'm glad you're here, Jim. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We have made significant progress in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools in North Carolina, and that's because we're accustomed to accountability. No Child Left Behind has taken it to an even higher level, and we have adopted to that. We have challenges, we understand that, but we also have a great deal of evidence as to students learning, not just some students, but all students. We're not only concerned about the floor, we're concerned about the ceiling as well. Those students who may be below grade level, making sure that they show progress. Those students who are in the upper quartiles showing progress along the way also. Evidence of that would be the recent release of the NAEP results, which is considered the nation's report card. And it does measure fourth graders and eighth graders across the nation. In fact, Charlotte Meck was part of a trial urban school assessment program, along with 9 other districts. This being our first year, this is a 2-year project and has been sponsored by the Council of Great City Schools. And I'll say to you that all of the urban districts that were part of that have shown progress. We in Charlotte Meck have been able to accelerate the progress that we have on the table today, you might say. When you take a look at the 10 districts, Charlotte Meck, 4th and 8th graders were equal to or better than all of the 10. But that's not what's important in relation to the particular urban school districts that were participants. If you take a look at the actual state results across the country, Charlotte-Mecklenburg urban school district was equal to or above the vast majority of states. When you take a look at it on a national basis, Charlotte-Meck, once again, equal to or better than the state average. I think that's rather significant. When you take a look at, on the basis of statistical analysis, the center city, you'll find that Charlotte-Meck, again, was leading the pack. But I want to emphasize that all of the urban schools were making progress. That's what's important. And it's due to No Child Left Behind and the accountability that is associated with that. No child is left behind. Let me give you an example. One child who may have fallen through the cracks in the past would not be allowed to fall through the cracks today. Example, if you take a Hispanic child, which is one of the subgroups, and that child happens to be ESL, which is a second group, and that child has a disability, a third group, and is on free and reduced lunch, a fourth group, and of course that child counts as part of the whole. 5 different reasons why that school will not allow that child to fall through the cracks, cannot afford to. So there are drivers that are in place that act as incentives for the school system and the individual schools to pay attention and to move forward. We have demonstrated that. We have demonstrated that it is possible, school by school and district as well. The goal that we have for ourselves is not to have pockets of excellence, but to have a school district of excellence. That is happening.
Yeah, you're doing a great job. Thanks, Jim. I'll drop a fancy word on you called disaggregate. When he said we're disaggregating results, we're focusing not just on the whole. We're trying to understand whether or not a black child is learning or a Hispanic child is learning. We're unwilling to accept the past, where everybody was just kind of measured all together. What we want to know is we want to know specifically who's succeeding and who's not. And the No Child Left Behind Act provides additional federal money to stay focused on those children who need help early. And that's an essential part. You see, these school districts measure, they see a child needs a little extra help in reading or an after-school program. There is money in the budget to focus on that child. And that's an essential change, an essential reform. Kathy Cox, who's the state school superintendent from the great state of Georgia, has joined us. She was a classroom teacher for 15 years. She is now the Executive Director of the Department of Education. I'm honored you're here. Why don't you share with us your experiences in the great state of Georgia?
I will. Thank you very much, Mr. President and Secretary Page. It is an honor for me to be here at Westview. And look out, North Carolina and Texas. Georgia is on the move, and we're moving up. And I want to just add to what you're talking about, disaggregation of data, because as I have thought about the impact of this first year of real implementation, I think that has had the greatest impact on our schools in Georgia. We're a state that has struggled with all of the issues associated with an achievement gap. Employment problems, high unemployment for areas that don't have high numbers of high school graduates, a large dropout rate, all of these things associated with an achievement gap that everyone knew was there. A lot of talk about it. But we were fooled by the summary results, where you put everybody together and it looks like, well, you know, we're really not doing that bad, so why is all this happening? Well, when we are forced by No Child Left Behind at an individual school level, a system level, and a state level to disaggregate that data and find out where those weaknesses really are, that has been painful. It has been eye-opening, but the light has shined on it, and now we have a blueprint. And the best thing about Georgia right now is the momentum and the excitement around the fact that we have a blueprint. We're taking the guesswork out of teaching and learning and disaggregating the data and using test results to drive instruction is going to be a key part of all of that. There's a lot of things happening that I could talk on and on about, and I won't, but I want to share one with you that really picked up speed just after we made our AYP determinations. Teachers have long said, help, help, I can't teach students who aren't there. And everybody said, well, you're right. And everybody kind of said, yeah, we've got an attendance problem, we've got a truancy problem, and everybody kind of nodded their head. But let me tell you, after 95% test participation and attendance as a second indicator, holy smokes, we have addressed truancy. And it's happened in the last 5 months. We've got a truancy task force that just wrapped up its work that is going to be making recommendations to the State Board of Education on new policies. We've got legislation ready to go in the General Assembly, and all over the state of Georgia, juvenile court judges, district attorneys, social workers, parents, and school people are in the room talking about the chronic absentee problem that so many of our schools face. That wouldn't have happened without AYP. And so, as I said, it's been painful and it's been rough, but we are up for the challenge in the state of Georgia, and we know that there's a lot of hard work ahead, a lot of hard work, and a lot more things that need to be done. But we are so set as a state, not just on improvement, but as a state, we are going to lead the nation in improving student achievement, and I'm proud to be at the helm.
That's good. I'm very good. I want to pick up on 2 points you made. One is truancy and parental involvement. There's nothing like test results being published to get the attention of a parent. A lot of parents believe in the best, of course, and they believe that the school their child goes to is meeting all kinds of standards and is an excellent school. After all, they've told that may not be the case. And so when you begin to publish the test results, it does enhance parental involvement. It encourages the parent to become involved. What the No Child Left Behind Act does, it not only provides extra help for a child that needs help early, it also gives parents more options in the process. A parent can take money and send that child to an after-school tutoring program. By the way, tutoring programs, the sponsor of which can be public sector or private sector programs. The child can send the parent can send the child to another public school. In other words, there is a consequence. Because one of the principles in the No Child Left Behind Act is we're not going to leave children trapped in schools that will not teach or change. There's time for schools to change. There's time for schools to use the accountability system to determine whether or not they're using the right curriculum or not. But there has to be an end to mediocrity at some point in time, and that's what it's for the parents, as far as the parents are concerned. So the parents have got a lot of different options now available when a school district takes Title I money, and that's a very important reform. But the most important part of the reform is that parents are now becoming more involved in their schools. After all, the child's first teacher is a mom or a dad. And it's essential, as the principal will tell you, the more civic involvement you get with your schools, the more parental involvement you get with your schools, the more likely it is that school is going to be able to meet the objectives of the No Child Left Behind Act. Speaking about people who understand the need to use a curriculum that works. Norm Michelot is with us. He is a principal of the Barton Elementary School in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He has come south for some warm weather. Didn't work.
It's the same temperature here as there.
That's right. One of the things we've done is we've, at the federal level, put a primary focus on reading. As I mentioned to you, the amount of reading money now available is an increase of 400% over the last 3 years. And what's important about reading programs is they actually work. Not that they sound good, but they actually achieve the objective. And the way to determine whether or not reading programs work is to measure. If a child can read, it'll show up on an accountability system. And Norm, why don't you tell us about what we call research-based reading programs, and tell us about your school and what you're doing.
Barton School was given the award for the No Child Left Behind 2003 award, and we have really thought long and hard about how we can improve. We did relatively well in our scores. We always felt that we could do better. So what we did, we initiated a new program, which is site-based learning, which is direct instruction, and we started with our first grade and our kindergarten, and there was incredible results right away. Now, usually in the school system, that setting, it's real difficult to get everybody to buy in a particular program. Changing paradigms is not things that they do very easily. So, really what sold the program, direct instruction, was watching the success that our kindergarten and first grade had. And what was happening is that all the other grade levels wanted to get in on it. Obviously, when I saw that, I wasn't going to step back and say, well, we couldn't afford it, we couldn't do this. I was going to say, we're going to get right into it. And this year, we are completely, starting from K4 through 6th grade, we have complete implementation. And it's off the charts, what we're doing. It's just amazing to walk into a kindergarten room and see them reading. And all kids, I'm not talking about just a few of them. It's learning that the kids enjoy, the teachers enjoy, and I think that's really the part of it. I'm blessed with the best staff in the country, and I really believe that. I know most principals will always say that, but they are the best, the hardest working. This was a real undertaking to make these changes in the way you do business. And I think the accountability measures that are in No Child Left Behind really are going to address those things. We can't do business as usual anymore. We need to look at all programs that are going to work. We have to reevaluate what we're doing. And I mean, that's pretty much what we did at Barton. And we did it also with our math program, which is an MEA math program, and that's been very successful for us. And winning that No Child Left Behind award has been a whirlwind. My superintendent said to me, he said that when we won the award, he also won the award for his school before he was a superintendent, said that it's like the Super Bowl. And he's really right. And maybe the Packers are going to go to the Super Bowl. The Titans have to help.
A couple of observations. First of all, we're learning what works when it comes to reading. It's not guesswork anymore. For a while it was guesswork. You might remember the great debates, capsulized in the whole language versus phonics. There's a lot of political capital expended over that. And all of a sudden the accountability system starts to clarify reality. And as Norm mentioned, they've chosen a program and a curriculum that is now working. Why do we know? Because they measure. They're able to tell because there is a measurement standard. The other thing that happens when Norm's school does well, other schools say, wait a minute, well, Norm doesn't seem to be all that good. How's he able to do what he's doing?
Probably good.
Well, Just guessing, Norm. But he serves as a go-by. See, when you have accountability and you lay the results out for everybody to see, all of a sudden people start saying, "What's Norm doing that I'm not doing?" Because as Norm mentioned to you, he's taking a school of children who, you know, that are the, as we say, used to say, tough to educate, and showing what can happen. I appreciate, Norm, your leadership. You said you got a great staff. You do it. Also, you're a educational entrepreneur. Somebody who's willing to focus on what works. And thank you for what you're doing. I appreciate it. I know the people in Milwaukee are thrilled that you are where you are. With us as well as Margie Willis, Grace Christian Elementary, Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Grace Christian is a Title I school. She's Title I money. Title I, by the way, for those who aren't aware of the term, are the federal monies aimed at economically disadvantaged kids. It's an important part of the federal funding, or the education funding program. It's a commitment that the federal government has made, will continue to make. And but Margie is a literacy coach. It's an interesting term, isn't it? It's she is has met, as a result, the students have met expectations. Tell us about your school, Margie. Tell us what you're doing, and tell us how you've been so successful.
Well, to fall back on what Norm said, our school also adopted a research-based reading program, direct instruction, 4 years ago. And I was sharing earlier that my last year in the classroom, I had a group of third graders who came to me, and for the first time in teaching, all of them could read. And I was so excited, I ran down to the second grade teachers and thanked them all for what they had done. That year was those children's second year with direct instruction. This is our fourth year with direct instruction. We have seen tremendous changes with our children. Our children can read, and we're so excited. We're rising in Mississippi also. And one of the components of No Child Left Behind, the accountability, has actually opened a lot of doors for us. And when I say that it has opened doors for us, it's opened teachers' classroom doors. Because so many times we would get to school, we'd close our doors, and no one would see us until the end of the day. Now we have open conversations with each other. We're talking about our successes, we're talking about our failures, and we know that we're in this together, because the accountability is not just what happens in my classroom, but it's what happens over that entire school, the school site. And so we're working together as a team. We're doing the right thing. It's the ethical thing to do, and that's to teach all children and not to let them fall through the cracks like we used to do with other reading programs. We talked to that middle child and hoped our lower ones would move up, and the high ones we didn't challenge. We just figured, okay, they'll get it. They know it already. So with No Child Left Behind, we can't do that. We have to teach every child. It's the right thing to do, and we're working hard every day at Grace Christian to leave no child behind.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. By the way, research-based reading means phonics, in essence. And it works. It works, and we know it works, and you've heard personal testimony that it does work. And I would urge schools that aren't using research-based reading programs to take a look at them. If you're not meeting standards, listen to the personal testimony of people on the front line of public education, and listen to the joy in their voices about achieving fantastic results and watching all the kids from all walks of life, all economic backgrounds, succeeding. I'll never forget one time we were in Houston, and Ron had he didn't call her a literacy coach. He called her a reading czar. She stood up, Czarina in this case, and she stood up and said, "Reading is the new civil right." And we're getting it right in more and more schools. I want to thank both of you all for being on the front edge of change. Thank you for your examples. Jerry Hodges is with us today. He's the Executive Director of Project GRAD, based right here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Project GRADS is a nonprofit trying to close the achievement gap by talking about and spreading curriculum that works. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Mr. President. Welcome to Knoxville, and welcome to Knoxville to you. And I'd like to say that on behalf of those of us working with the Project Grad Initiative, we're really thrilled to have an opportunity to be trying to make change and impact kids in a positive way. We're in our second year of operation here in Knoxville, and I know you're familiar with Project Grad. And Secretary Page, certainly you have an intimate knowledge of Project Grad, having been at Houston when it began. Project Grad is a school reform program, and we're working in 14 inner-city schools right here in Knoxville, partnering with a powerful partnership with the Knox County Schools to try to help you and others do what is necessary in order to meet the standards and the goals of No Child Left Behind. Just like you, what we do is about the kids. It's the heart of everything that we do. And you can't get to the heart of doing work for kids without meeting those goals that you set through No Child Left Behind. So we have embraced, we've embraced No Child Left Behind as an organization, and we're very proud of where we are at this point in time. I think everybody knows that children need a strong, rigorous academic program in elementary schools, reading, math, classroom discipline. We have that through our Project Grad program in our 10 elementary schools. Parental involvement, you spoke about a few moments ago, is a strong component of our work. We have a parent involvement coordinator that's working in all 14 schools to help equip parents and be able to teach them how to be involved in their children's education. We also have social service professionals that we've placed in every school to try to help those families and children deal with those external issues that inner city kids so often deal with. And then I think kids have to have goals. And through our program, we had the scholarship program. Of course, you're very familiar with that, Secretary Page. The scholarship program, $1,000 a year for 4 years for them to go to school, wherever they'd like to go, college, university, or post-secondary technical school. And all that packaged very nicely into a program called Project Grad. And I do want to say Knox County is a very good school district. It's the highest performing metropolitan school district in the state of Tennessee. Strong leadership, very dedicated teachers, paraprofessionals that work very hard in order to try to make these things happen. We think our role is to help them help kids. And that's what we're about in trying to do so. And the Project Grad motto is whatever it takes. And so a very dedicated board and through a very dedicated group of professionals, we're doing whatever it takes in order to try to do the things that kids need to be successful so as that no child does fall through the cracks and gets left behind.
I appreciate it. Thanks. Good job. Thank you. Nonprofits, corporate Tennessee, people who care about the future of your state, need to follow the example of Project Grad and become involved in your school districts. I appreciate the superintendent and the school board members for reaching out and understanding that the educational excellence is a local responsibility. I mean, people really shouldn't hope that the federal government develops the blueprint for success. That's not our role. And you don't want a one-size-fits-all education approach. You want the best education reform comes when local people decide to reform, when your principals reform, when the people running at the state level reform, when businesses and local community leaders say, we're not happy with the way things are. Let's change for the good of everybody. And that's what's taking place here in Knox County Schools. I want to thank you for that. Listen, I want to thank you all for coming. I'm honored our panel came from around the country to share with us the stories of success. And by the way, we're just beginning in America. See, one of these days, we won't have enough room on the stages as we bring people from all around the country to talk about what is happening. The tremendous success as a result of the No Child Left Behind Act. I'm honored you all came. I want to thank you again for believing in every child and raising that bar and believing in the worth of every individual. May God bless your work. May God continue to bless our country.